What's going on, everybody? So we're going to have another movie review tonight, and tonight we're going to be talking about a movie called Downhill, which releases February 14th, Valentine's Day weekend, but they did screen this movie back at Sundance Festival January 26th. So this movie is actually a remake of a movie from what year was it? 2014, called Force Majeure. Which was a really good movie, apparently, from other people I've spoken to, and I'm actually looking at reviews and so on. But this is the American version of it, and if you know anything from the past, typically when international movies are remade and given an American version, typically aren't that good. Well, we'll talk about this movie, and I'll let you guys engage with your own opinions after the conclusion of this review. But so this movie, it stars Will Ferrell, which typically with Will Ferrell, if it's something with him, I know it's going to be funny, so it's pretty much going to make me a little interested on that note. But it also stars Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who, I think the two of them together would absolutely complement each other very good, and indeed they did. But they play Billy and Pete, and they go on a family vacation. They hit a ski resort in Austria, and little did they know, like this vacation, sort of say, was actually not going to go as planned. In other words, this was really a dysfunctional family vacation, and it really was centered around an avalanche that occurred, and both of the parents responded differently in the situation, which ultimately put a divide between the two of them. It was like super uncomfortable. In other words, have you ever been around a couple and they were in an argument and everything was just really awkward between the two of them? Yeah, that was the viewers here in this theater of the movie, because like the two of them, after this occurred, really. It sometimes even made you pick sides, but it was a really uncomfortable situation, and that's typically what this movie was about. The two of them got split reactions from the avalanche, which ultimately they had split parenting decisions, disagreements, different emotions. Everything that happened about that just truly split the two of them together, and they were even kind of living off of different models all of a sudden. Like, it was very interesting. Matter of fact, as much as there was like a dysfunction between the two of them, then every other sub character that was in this movie was like super intense, which was like, yeah, it just made that situation even more like static, and a lot of friction between it. But in this movie they used like the bathroom to really give viewers like the depiction of the divide between the two of them. At one point, it's a mirror bathroom with two sinks on both sides. At one point, they were sharing it on the side together. Then eventually one went over to the other. Then they barely were speaking around each other. So like it used a lot of that, so you can just have a clue of like how serious the situation was between the two of them. And they both engaged in each other's like I'll say problems that they had with each other, with Pete, played by Will Ferrell, being addicted to his phone, and like his response to the avalanche and not being there for his family, not feeling like he really wants to be part of the vacation, where Billy was kind of exposed to maybe wanting to always be right, and it just was one of those type of things. But I will say this too, for Will Ferrell, you expect a certain tone of like humor with him, and I'll say the baseline of Will Ferrell from previous roles, this was a little under that mark. However, his facial expressions, as he's really animated as always, was really on par as always. But the problem with the movie for me is I just didn't know who the target audience was. Again, this movie comes out Valentine's Day weekend. I wouldn't tell anybody to go see a movie about dysfunctional couple, family, relationship, marital. a situation to go see this because it just was just kind of awkward, you know. But I don't know. But this was like a dark comedy film. So with that being said, like I'm not gonna say like adult tone, but it was like adult maturity level. So in other words, you have to like be in a certain mindset and maybe just a certain position in your life to understand how some of these jokes really apply. Like, you know, for example, there was one where they were just like, all right, we got to go. And then they just kept wanting to eat more fries. Like, all right, no more. Then you just keep eating more fries. And it's just like, all right, yeah, I need one more. Like that type of thing. And it's like, you laugh at that because you're like, oh, I remember in situations like that where you're like, oh, I got to go. And I just keep being addicted to having to just get a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And like something like that makes you laugh. But everybody may not get that. I feel like, you know, surely not the younger audience won't typically get that about the, you know, engaging in the form of responsibility over like your wants and desires. You know what I mean? So like, that's why it's like a really interesting niche who this audience is directed to. And then, you know, as much as this movie has to deal with like family therapy, shall we say, it's just like once you got to the resolve at the end and the movie was over, it's like boom, that's it. And it's like, oh, okay. So I don't know. Here's my thing. If you were a fan of, you know, the original international film, then maybe you may want to take a peek into this movie. But as far as I'm concerned, it has a lot of competition. Sonic comes out this weekend. Photograph comes out this weekend. Harley Quinn Birds of Prey is still out. I just don't know how, you know, what will actually make somebody go in there unless you're just a huge fan of the stars, of the cast of this movie, or you interested to see the American version of the original film. So yeah, like I said, there's a large array of humor in this movie, no matter if it lands for you or not. There is definitely in the movie, coming from an assorted array of characters, providing their own unique style of humor, which I think is pretty cool. But you get good visuals of beautiful Austria from, you know, looking at the mountains and the snow and then just, you know, some of the cinematography that's being used as far as with the skiing and the lifts and all that. You do get a bunch of that, and then the aesthetics of the ski resort that they use. If you're obviously a fan of nature, there's definitely a lot of pleasure that you can find on that note. But other than that, that's all I have, to be honest. I didn't hate this movie because I feel like some of the jokes I could resonate with, but I can see how some people can have a huge difficulty being on board with this. Quite frankly, somebody was sitting next to me, do not think he laughed at all this entire movie. And it was this joke that I was like, oh, I laughed because I know that feeling. I know, you know, that situation or whatever it may be. But nonetheless, downhill, I guess. And again, beyond the last closing scenes of this movie, I have no clue how the title even correlates, you know, to this movie. Now, force majeure, obviously the title of that means unforeseeable circumstances that prevent somebody from fulfilling a contract, or greater force, sort of say, is what it means. I see how that works, but that also isn't a translation to downhill, so I don't know. But nonetheless, if you guys go check it out, let me know what you think in the comments, and stay tuned because we have more movies coming out this week. Thank you for listening.